Good morning. Am I audible? Good morning, everyone.
Yes, ma'am, you're audible, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, dear all. On behalf of the Department of Information Technology, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Ramapuram campus, I welcome you all for the outreach program on Nitty-Gritty and Whatnot of Information Technology, organized for the higher secondary school students. It's a wonderful opportunity for us to arrange these kinds of outreach programs for the school students in remote places and also in cities. I thank the management, the chairman, the co-chairman, the director, the dean engineering and technology, VP admin, VP academics, HOD IT sir, our senior faculty Mrs. Rani ma'am, my dear colleagues, student coordinator, and our speaker of the day, Mr. R. Tarun Khanna, our third year IT student. So I extremely thank the principal, dean, and management of Marthoma Matriculation High Secondary School, Amrita Vidyalaya Nesapakam, and other schools in Karur for graciously accepting our invitation and allowing their students to attend the program. So let me now give a brief introduction of our speaker of the day, Mr. R. Tarun Khanna, who is our third year IT student. Tarun Khanna is a pre-final year engineering undergraduate student from the Department of Information Technology, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Ramapuram campus. He is passionate about learning new tools and updates himself on a day-to-day basis with the emerging ones. He has been certified and acclaimed by Google as an IT support specialist, by IBM as a cybersecurity analyst, and is currently pursuing Cisco's Network Associate in Enterprise, Data Center, Routing and Switching, Wireless and Security. He also possesses relevant knowledge about the above mentioned vendors, proprietary devices and products, and utilizes the most of these to see himself in an offensive security job role in the next 5 years. He also heads the project club of the Department of Information Technology and handles various online sessions periodically in areas related to cloud, networking, and information security. So it's indeed a great privilege for us to hear your lecture now, Tarun. So over to you. So you take over the session and address our higher secondary school students.
Thank you for the brief introduction, ma'am. It's actually a privilege to do this tech talk for the higher secondary students, and I thank you and Veeramani sir and Rani ma'am and HOD sir for giving me this opportunity to present this tech talk today. Hello everyone. This is Tarun. So you have heard about my introduction. So I guess we'll narrow it down to the session right now. So even during my school days, I had a passion towards information technology and computer science. Like I was confused between choosing IT or CSE or IT or ECE. So there was this one point of time wherein I got average marks in grade 12, and I was actually forced to choose IT instead of ECE. I actually wanted to go to ECE because ECE actually had all those electronics and electrical things also. Along with computer science, you'll be able to learn electronic components also. But there was this crucial point wherein I had to choose between both of those courses. Wherein ECE is like a very tough course wherein you have to have extreme knowledge, and you should also study very much in ECE. But IT is like it's not easy, but still IT is like it's more practical than ECE, I would say. So we'll start off with today's session. So I'll be briefing you about what and why IT with just a few points. Like, that's not most important. You all know what IT is, but it's not exactly the thing what you think. People who talk about IT, like if you want to hear your parents or someone in your circle talk about IT, they'll be saying that IT is dying. IT is a field which is going down. People are being sent out of IT. Like that's not true at all. Okay, until and unless computers, mobile phones, and all the other services exist, IT and computer science is a field which will for sure prevail throughout the electronic and mechanical age. Like there is no end or death for IT itself. So you don't need to worry about IT dying, or there's nothing actually like that. It's just a word of mouth. Okay, so don't worry about that. choosing this course, I'll also be talking about why you have to choose this course in SRM. So there are certain benefits if you choose this course in the SRM. So we'll directly move on to the session today. So we'll be talking about BE, CSE, and BTech IT. So BE is Bachelor of Engineering and BTech is Bachelor of Technology. So does anyone here know what BE or BTech is? Like most of the time, it's also BTech CSE. It's now BTech CSE, but actually during the previous years, it was BE, CSE, and BTech IT. So any idea about what engineering versus technology? I guess I'll move on with that. So engineering is actually designing things based on scientific principle. Like people who work in mechanical, civil, they all study physics, chemistry to the core, and they design based on the scientific principles that were explained by scientists. But technologists are one who actually utilize those things that are being invented by the engineers. So we are technologists. You have to remember that IT people and computer people are actually technologists. They are not engineers. Engineers are actually someone who actually creates it. Like a computer now, I told you, computer science belongs to an engineering branch of science. So engineering is actually one thing where in computer science you actually design a software, you create a software, you build something new. But in IT, you utilize those software which is built to the most. You'll be using mostly tools and things like that. You won't be actually coding. You'll be utilizing and developing it. You'll be updating it. You won't be creating it. So you need to know the difference between computer science and IT. I guess this is also one of the most confusing things that I had during my school days. What is the difference between computer science and IT? Why is it same? Like, but most of the subjects and courses you're going to learn in computer science or IT will be similar. It will be exactly the same. Only 2 or 3 electives would be different in SRM. It's almost similar only. But when you go to work, you need to know that this is the difference. Like most of the recruiters might ask you, what's the difference between computer science and IT? Why you chose IT? So this is the reason, exact reason why you have to take IT or you have to choose computer science. You have to choose between both of these. So what and why IT? So information technology is actually the technology used to solve business computing problems. Like you won't actually be solving every time complex software related problems or computer related problems. It's also giving services, providing products like business things like that. Anyone knows what all are the fields that this IT is comprised of? Like you might have heard only software and other things, right? Do any one of you explain? Can anyone of you explain what actually IT services are? Like, have you heard of the story? Zomato or Ola is actually run by IT. It is not run by Zomato or Ola particularly. It's actually TCS and Infosys are actually the service-based company which takes up Zomato's services and Ola, Uber services, and they do all the stuff. It's not Zomato or it's just a startup. Zomato or Ola is just a startup. Uber is just a startup. It's IT people who actually run all those startups. So remember that IT is not only about sitting in front of a computer and coding. It's like totally a different field. Make yourself used to it and get to know that it's not a boring job. It's like an exciting job where you study and you get to update yourself a lot. Yeah, for example, from designing to network administration, computer programming, computer support, everything's falls under the IT category. So IT experts make use of their skills to support troubleshooting of basic complex issues. Um, Other design important software businesses, like I told you. IT is also a growing field which is never gonna be suppressed in one day. It will not be suppressed any day also. So you could be confident in IT and you could take this course. So what are all the various fields and sectors in IT? So I guess most of you would have just known software. IT is only software. It is only limited to software. But remember that the core difference between IT and computer science is that IT is comprised of hardware, infrastructure, network, and other equipment. Okay, it is not only limited to software. Because IT is actually, I would define IT as infrastructure and technology instead of information technology. So those are my terms and my words. I would say IT as infrastructure technology. So it's not about only software. It's not only limited to learning programming languages and working in programming languages. It's all about a whole company. What are all the requirements and needs that you have to make sure and update yourself to run a company more efficiently. So that's what IT is all about. Most of the IT product software tools and its maintenance supports are the form and part of IT industry. Like most of you would have would have heard about the word called BPO or call center. You guess most of the people would like just these people who are working in BPOs and call center, but even people in BPO or call center are making around 35 to 40,000 per month. It's not a easy job to like. Even if your cab is late today, you have to call a BPO or a call center. The calls what you're dialing to Ola or Uber are redirected to BPOs and call centers and IT of TCS and Infosys, and they are the ones who actually provide you with solutions. So remember that it's not a easy job or it's not a funny job. It's like something serious. You are helping someone. You are actually a crucial part in that. So it's not limited. What I'm coming to say, it's not only limited to software. So it's more than software. So I'll be briefing you about what are all the other departments in IT and how each department works. So firstly, we'll go into hardware infrastructure. So hardware and infrastructure engineers are the ones who actually research, design, and develop and test computer systems which are being built. The computer systems are actually built by ECE and EEE people. Okay, so after the ECE and EEE people build it, it'll come to the CSE people. So the CSE people will actually do all the if you come to study IT or CSE, you will be learning subjects like computer architecture, operating system, microprocessors and controllers, digital electronics, VLSI design. So when you're studying all those subjects, you'll get to know how computers are built, what are all the essential components that are there in computer, how the computer process calculations and do calculations according to the logical gates and logical systems in it. So those are all actually designed by IT hardware engineers. So they do all those things. Like if you are a person into gaming, you might have heard about GPUs, overclocking, and the processor speed counted in gigahertz, I guess. All these things are actually set by hardware engineers. If you want to overclock a computer in an IT company, you actually call the hardware people or the infrastructure people to come over, and they are the ones who actually help you out with. You cannot actually change your own system. Even if you are a computer science student, even if you're a student of IT working in an IT company, you're not supposed to change anything in your laptop which is provided by your office. You have to actually call the IT people who are working as a hardware engineer or network engineer or infrastructure engineer in your computer in your office. They'll come and then they'll make the changes because it's an office laptop. You have to remember that. So each one is assigned each role. No role is like lesser than or greater than any other role in IT. So what are they do? What do they do? They design new computer hardware. They create blueprints and computer equipment to be built. Test completed models of the hardware they designed, and all the other things. What you see here are actually covered by IT hardware and infrastructure engineers. So I have also mentioned what are all the subjects you'll be learning in college over the course of 4 years, and these are the subjects you actually have to have a solid understanding in order to excel in the field of hardware and infrastructure. So there's a subject called computer architecture, wherein you'll be learning all about processors like 8086. You would have seen x86 in your computer, heard of the word called 32-bit and 64-bit operating system. All those things comes under computer architecture. You'll be learning what is x64, x32, x86, all those things in computer architecture subject. And there's another subject called operating systems, wherein you'll be learning all the processor scheduling. You would have studied, if you're a student of state board and you're studying 12th grade in C++, you would have studied about round robin, process scheduling, semaphores, deadlocks, and all. those all come under the subject called operating system. Don't think that operating system is only Windows, Linux, things like that. You'll be learning how processes are scheduled in Windows, how Linux runs, kernels, things like that will be taught you in operating system subjects. Microprocessor and microcontrollers was a subject actually previously. I guess it's not here. Even I never studied Microsoft microprocessor and controllers, but it's actually one of the best courses that you have to undergo if you want to excel in hardware infrastructure. It's also similar to computer architecture, but you'll also be studying the hardware components. Like you'll be getting into embedded systems in microprocessors and microcontrollers. So SRM has introduced another course instead of microprocessors and microcontrollers called analog and digital electronics, which is also very much useful. And it's also easy compared to microprocessor and microcontrollers. Microprocessor and microcontroller subjects was actually difficult for seniors. Like, ADE is actually easy compared to microprocessor. And there's also one more thing that you have to learn in additional. It's called VLSI design, wherein you will be learning computer programming language, like low-level language, a seriously low-level language like VLSI. You would have heard that C is a low-level language. It interacts with hardware directly. Like Python runs over the operating system. It cannot interact with the hardware, but that's why people prefer learning C language, and that's why C language is asked in interviews mostly. Directly interacts with the hardware, and it's more faster than all the other programming languages. But VLSI design is actually even more faster than C. Like you're directly telling computer to do what, but it's actually tough to learn VLSI design. So, but if you learn VLSI design, I can guarantee you that companies like Qualcomm, you'd have heard about Qualcomm, the processor, phone processors, computer processors, Intel is also one of the computer processors, like AMD. All those companies look for VLSI design engineers and microprocessor, microcontroller design engineers only. They don't look for people who do only software or only networking, things like that. They look for people who are related to hardware and infrastructure only. So we have to also know that companies look for specific people for specific jobs. Like there's no use of taking a person who knows only Python programming into VLSI design and into Intel and work with everything. Like Python cannot actually directly interact with hardware itself. Once you get into college, you'll be familiarized and you'll understand what I'm telling. But as of now, just know you don't have to actually complicate with the things that I say. Just for you to have a brief, I'm explaining you all these things. Then there are certain certifications that you could do. One of the certification is Google IT support. I accomplished this certificate a few years back. It's one of the best certifications offered by Coursera. You could take a look at it. It certifies you as an IT support specialist itself. You'll be acclaimed as an IT support specialist. And there's also another called other course in Google, which is called IT automation with Python. So I'll be talking about that course also in a few slides. So which you do. Then next is RHCSA and or CE, which is called Red Hat certified. So there's a company called Red Hat, which is actually an operating system itself. It's like Linux. It's one of the Linux operating system, one of the distributions of Linux operating system. So Red Hat is actually the Linux operating system, which is used in most of the IT companies. They won't be using Ubuntu or Kali Linux at all. They'll be using mostly Red Hat or Fedora. So Red Hat is also one of the Debian operating systems, Linux Debian operating systems. And so you could also do those certifications, but you actually have to have a basic level knowledge before you enter into all those certifications. Google IT support does not require any prerequisite. Right after completing your 12th grade, you could take up Google IT support. But RHCSA and all the other certifications which are mentioned here require some basic knowledge. Like after your first year of college, the second year of college, you could do all these certifications. ITIL is like one of the core foundation courses of IT, wherein they'll be teaching you methodologies, how an IT company works, what are all the procedures and methods you have to follow in order to like work properly or produce more better software, piece of code, or things like that, and how to work. They'll also be teaching you two methodologies in ITIL called Scrum and Agile. You'll be learning about Scrum and Agile after coming to third year or fourth year. Azure Fundamentals, it belongs to cloud department. So you'll get to know all these certifications. You don't have to actually confuse yourself. Just if you want to do it right now, you could just make a note of it or take a screenshot or a snippet or take a photo of it, or I'll send this PPT later on to ma'am so that ma'am can forward it to you. We'll move on to the next department called networking. So it's also one of the most exciting department to work. I prefer to work in network department in IT. So it's actually one of the comfortable domains that I feel related or I feel connected to. So I'll be talking a bit more in this domain. So what networking is? So immediately when you ask someone what IT is, they'll be telling you that there'll be a guy who wears a polo shirt always and has wires and cables and LAN cables in his hand and will be standing near a server and inserting. That's the most cliched photograph you'll see in internet about an IT guy. That is IT. That is networking. So you'll be dealing and working with a lot of wires during the past days, but nowadays it's like only one wire. Everything is like if you sit in your home, you could control everything in your office. So there's not much of need to know programming language or have any additional logical thinking or analytical skills to work in this field. It's like a common person or a common student who has a good knowledge about how a computer works, how internet works, is more than enough to get into this field. Like if you're a person who's struggling to learn programming, this is your go-to place, I would say. Networking is your go-to place. So what networking actually is like, what network engineers do is like they monitor the status of the network system of a company. Like, I guess most of you here would have known what network is. Network is like a collection of computers, and you in an IT company you'll be seeing thousands and 10,000s of computers. Not each one of them. Like most of the people who know software won't know how to assign an IP address to a computer. Things like that. So it's an easy thing, right? How assigning an IP address to a computer is like done by a router itself, but in an IT company, it's everything is done by network engineers. Your router will automatically assign, but you have to go and assign to the router. You manually should go to the router and assign an IP address. So you don't have to actually physically go. You could sit in your home and you could VPN or you can SSH into your office system, and then you could assign an IP address. Like in one place itself, you could sit and you could control all the computers of your office. That's what network engineers do. To be precise, I don't want to confuse you with all the jargon words in this slide. So this is what network engineers actually do. And there are also a lot of simulation that is happening in network engineering department, so that you don't have to actually deal with wires every time. What simulation is like? Has any one of you used softwares like National Instruments, things like that here during your school days? Any simulation software like Microsoft? If you have played this game called Microsoft Flight Simulator, anyone here?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So Microsoft Flight Simulator is a simulation software which gives you it's like a virtual realistic thing about driving or piloting airplane. It gives you the realistic experience what you could do. You can actually pilot a plane in sitting in one place itself. You don't have to actually own an airplane to control it. It also gives you the total view of the whole globe. Like if you want to, you set a destination to Chennai airport, the whole of Chennai map will be down there. So if you fly above Chennai, you would actually see your own house in that Microsoft Flight Simulator. So that's called a simulation software. So even IT network people also develop simulation software wherein they'll be having virtualized computers and virtualized operating system. You don't have to actually have many computers at one time. Like all the 1,000 computers will be there in your computer itself. So you don't have to actually go to that computer and work. So that's what simulation is. So IT is like networking is moving into simulation mostly. And you'll also be learning all those things if you start exploring networking. The subjects to concentrate if you want to work in networking are computer communications, computer networks, operating systems, computer architecture, fundamentals of virtualization, information storage management. Computer communications you'll be learning in second year, computer networks in third year, operating system in second year, computer architecture also in second year. Fundamentals of virtualization is an elective. So they'll be giving you an elective subjects when you step into second year and third year of college. So you have to be wise when choosing your elective subjects. Like I've seen this, I have experienced this, so I'm telling you this. Most of my friends here choose their elective subjects just because other one of their friends are there in that elective subject. Please don't do that. If you are interested in one elective subjects, you choose yourself. Like don't ever ask a suggestion to your friend or things like that. Don't blindly choose an elective just because your friend chose that elective. Do what comes for you. Do what that suits you the best. So fundamental of virtualization is one of the electives that will be offered to you. So be wise and choose that elective and make a solid understanding of that concept. Like it's only fundamentals of virtualization. It's not too tough to learn. If you go through a few PPTs like learning unit 1 and unit 2 itself will be more than enough for you to clear the subject and get grasp better knowledge over other people. So choose that. Information storage management is also one of the electives where you will be asked to choose between information storage management and fundamentals of virtualization. So you have to be wise there. You have to make a better choice there. I'll tell you what both of these electives do. So virtualization is like if you have used Linux, like I guess most of you here would have been watching YouTube videos about ethical hacking, things like that. If you have watched things like that, you would have mostly known about this operating system called Kali Linux. You won't, most of the time, you won't be installing that operating system in your computer or dual booting it. You'll be installing it in something called VirtualBox or VMware. So you'll be studying about VMware and VirtualBox and virtualization, how VMware works, how everything is like virtualized, things like that. Information storage management is one where you learn about cloud and containers, things like that. So if you're willing to work in cloud related technologies, you have to learn information storage management. If you want to work in core networking, you could learn virtualization. Some of the certifications that you could do in virtualization are CCNA, which is Cisco Certified Network Administration or Associate. The next one is CCNP, Cisco Certified Network Professional. For CCNP, CCNA is a prerequisite. For the next one, CCIE, Cisco Certified Internet Network Expert. CCNP is a prerequisite, so it's like a step-by-step hierarchy. So you have to process CCNA, then go to CCNP, then go to CCIE. These are all the certifications which are not taught by college. You have to go in addition to some other place or over the internet. You have to enroll yourself into all these certifications, and if you are well enough to learn by yourself, well and good, or if you want to learn in any of the institutes, I could prefer you some institutes. I'll give you my contact number. I'm learning in one of the best institutes in Chennai, so you could also learn from them. Then there are also multi-vendor firewall certifications for network engineers to do, called like Palo Alto, Checkpoint, FortiGate, and all. So you'll be learning about what firewall is, what router is, what switches in networking, and how all the routing protocols, like what is IP address, things like that in networking. So it's like vague when you study in theory, but if you go to certifications, it's totally practical. So I would prefer you to do certifications alongside theoretical knowledge for a better understanding. And networking is like the basic requirement for cloud. Remember that you can't directly go into cloud. I'll tell you what cloud is. You can't directly go into cloud computing, things like that. Before going into cloud, you have to possess a solid understanding in networking. Then only you could go into cloud. There are also Coursera certifications in Google Cloud platform. AWS also is there in Coursera. Azure Fundamentals also there in Microsoft website for free. You could learn the resources, use the resources for free, and only for the certification you have to pay. So this is about networking. The next one is the regular software engineering. I guess most of you here would be interested to learn and listen only to this and leave out all the other things. So I have to actually brief in what software engineers and what software is. There are several roles in software engineer. It's not only about software engineer or software developer. Those are the only two terms we hear frequently. So what a software developer does, he's the one who codes and develops applications based on his knowledge. So the only people who learn C++, Java, HTML, or any one of the language and do coding only in that language, they are called a software developer. They sit in front of computer for hours and they express their mind and they bring out a software piece of software. Uh, so I would tell you that software developer is actually one of the boring field to work in IT. It actually pays you well. That's why it's boring. It's tough to be a software developer. So they pay you high. They pay you in tax for a software developer. The next one is software tester. This is actually an interesting field in software to work with. So software testing is immediately after the software developing team creates a software and when they give it to you, they'll be giving the software to a software tester. They have to actually run the software in their computer. They'll have to test what are all the errors that pops up in the software. They have to debug it, then they have to rectify all those errors and give it back to the development team again. So that the development team can again replenish all the errors that have been popped up and clear it. So the software testers don't need much of programming knowledge. All they need is just knowing certain tools and just having or possessing the knowledge, basic knowledge, how the code flow works, how a code is how a code works. They don't need to know the syntax or semantics of the program. They just need to know the flow of the code. That's more than enough for a software tester. Software support is also one of an exciting job. Software support is blooming these days. They provide you additional software updates and you've seen WhatsApp rolling out updates each and every week. The support team is the one which rolls out all the updates. You have seen this version WhatsApp V49.5222. All these things you'll be learning in a subject called software engineering and principle. What is called V4592? Why there are so many versions? Why updates are rolled out every week and every month? Why not perfect software is given in the first time of release itself? Why it's every time updating? So things like that you'll be learning in software support. One of the exciting fields to work in software. So programming all subjects to be concentrated for software engineering are in first year you'll be learning a subject called programming and problem solving. Basics of it will give you a basic idea about what programming is and how the basic mathematical concepts are coming into programming and all. Next one is data structure and algorithms. The next one is you'll learn data structure and algorithm and design analysis of algorithms in your second year of college. Advanced programming practice also you'll learn in second year. CPM, software engineering and project management also in second year. Formal language automata is one wherein you'll be learning in your third year of college. Compiler design also in third year. Database management also. So these are the subjects which you have to concentrate more if you want to go into software. Remember, software is one of the competitive fields in this world. There'll be a lot of competitive people you'll be competing with. People from computer science department will be there. People from ECE department will be there. People from mechanical and civil also will learn a programming language and come into competition with you. So you should not be limited to learning only one programming language. You should also possess knowledge and idea about all these subjects also. So you have to be strong in the subject called data structure and algorithm. This is the core subject which you have to learn after learning one programming language for you to make it more efficient. So once after getting into college, you'll be learning all these things. All these things will be exciting. It'll be a little bit intriguing also. So don't lose hope. You'll be confused between choosing this data structures and algorithms and or learning one programming language. So what I would recommend you is simultaneously you have to learn data structures and programming language so that you can relate with it. During the holidays itself, you try to learn a basic level of programming language using some websites. I'll give you some websites. Go to those websites and learn a basic level understanding. That's more than 12th standard knowledge is more than enough for learning that kind of concept. Data structure and algorithms, once after you come into college, they'll teach you, so don't worry. Then they'll provide you additional resources also. So there'll be another a department coming into this called CCC, and they'll be teaching you well in dynamic programming, things like that. So don't worry about all these things. Once after you get into college, they'll be taking care of this core subjects and all. But remember, it's your responsibility to learn a programming language by yourself. Nobody can actually help you out in learning programming languages. If you teach a programming language, it's of no use. So it's gonna be helping the person who's only teaching. Their knowledge is only going to be increasing if they're gonna teach. So remember, it's like only they could help you a certain level. After that, it's your interest. You should take the interest and learn it thoroughly. Other fields of IT and all, when you search in internet, it's tough to get resources. But software engineering and programming and all, if you search in internet, you'll get vast content. So it's easy for you to go to one particular. Just don't gaze in all those websites. Just choose one website which is perfect and sit into that website, stick into that website, and learn everything. It'll be just you're just completed 12th grade or you're still in 12th grade. It'll be little bit tough only for you, but once after you complete it, get into college and learn all the subjects like programming and problem solving, things like that, it'll be easy for you. So don't worry about that. Software is also easy to be. Once you have interest in software, once you get interest in software after learning all these subjects, definitely you'll do work in this. So yeah, that's about software engineering. So I've covered the top three IT departments there. So there are also another IT job roles in IT, like content writing, technical writing, business analyst, accountant, management team member, all these things. Whatever you see here, these are all the non-IT job roles. Don't think that these jobs won't pay you or you don't have to study IT for this. You have to definitely study IT course for these job roles also. Content writer and technical writer, all these things and all, if you text me, we are running short of time, I guess. So if you text me, I'll share you my contact details. So if you want detail about what are all these kind of job roles and all, I'll tell you how this works and what are all the things that non-IT job roles offer you. Remember that these are also some of the fields which pay you well. They don't pay you anywhere less other than software or things like that. These departments also pay you well in IT. So these are some of the non-IT job roles which you can work with. If you're not interested in that, you could always go into marketing, sales, things like that, which makes you more better and more confident person. So software, this is one of the most important things that you have to look into. Like even after joining college, most of the people here don't know about all these things. So if you are choosing any of the software domains, job roles that I mentioned here, please take a picture of it or note it somewhere, or I'll send the PPT. So for core software engineer, I've mentioned what are all the important programming languages for him to learn. So I have chosen all these programming languages because these are all the essential things that they have to learn. Like a core software engineer need not learn Python. It's not much useful for a core software engineer. It's more than enough for a core software engineer to learn C or C++ or either one of the programming languages that I mentioned here. If you learn all the programming languages, all the four programming languages I've mentioned here for core software engineer, you might be getting paid getting paid more than 10 lakhs or 15 lakhs per annum if you master in all the four languages I have mentioned for core software. For software development also, I mentioned a few of the programming languages and frameworks that you have to learn. .NET is one of the thing that you have to learn if you want to become a software developer. Visual Basic is also one of the things. So remember, these are the overview of languages what you have to learn related to the job role that you are going to sit or you wish to work with. So I have mentioned something called graphic design and UI UX. For those who don't know what graphic design and UI UX, these are the people who design the user interface of any software or things like that. If you use Google Meet, you're seeing present screen option, you're seeing the mute option, the video button option. It's looking good to your eyes, right? So these are the people who design all those things. For that, you don't have to actually possess a good programming language knowledge. It's more than enough if you know certain tools and certain softwares. There's something called Adobe. So Adobe, it's not only Photoshop. Adobe provides you with web designing, all those things. Also, graphic designing is also one of the most powerful suits of Adobe. So you will learn Adobe software like Illustrator, XD, InDesign, and all. And there are also other vendor software that I've mentioned. You could also learn all those things. Database is also one of the crucial subject or concept that you have to have in IT, even if you like, not only if you belong to software, network engineers also, or infrastructure engineer also should possess a solid understanding of database systems. So for that, you'll be learning something called MySQL, things like that. It's not exactly programming. MySQL, all these the things what I mentioned in database is not programming. It's like something called the query languages. It's more easier than programming languages. So you'll be learning all these things once you come into college. So don't feel hesitated if you see if you're not able to make sense of all these programming languages. Even I don't know most of the programming languages here. I only know Python here. So remember that it makes sense to you only after you come into college, and only after your second or third year of college you'll be having an understanding what you should learn and what you should leave. So you should be wise enough to choose what you should learn and what you should leave. You should not learn everything. If you try to learn everything, you'll be having bits of all the knowledge, and you will not master one thing, and you tend to procrastinate. So it's better if you learn one thing, and if you master one thing in any of the job roles, it's more than enough. So that's for software. So lastly, perks of working in IT. Certainly, it depends on which company you're joining. So there are several categories of companies, product based or service based, or things like that will be there. So they'll give you good pay scale hikes, and if you are going to switch between companies after having a minimum work experience of 2 to 3 years, you'll be getting 30% hike in IT. You're always going to sit in AC, so don't worry about that. On-site opportunities is like, on-site is the word wherein you use for going abroad. In IT, they'll call it on-site. So if your company is going to send you abroad, they'll tell you, are you willing to go on-site? So that's the word called on-site. So for a short period of time, for 2 months, 3 months, they'll send you. Permanently also, if you want to switch your job, your manager, if you're good at your work, the manager will offer you, you could accept it and go. The company will take care of all your expenses most of the time. Team outings and team lunch, that's one of the things that you have to know. IT is all about enjoying yourself. It's not about stressing or things like that. Like people, you have heard about HCL story, right? The people who work at HCL are taken back. They take leave during Saturdays and Sundays. The company provides mandatory vacation Saturday, Sunday, and they go to one place wherein they have all these fun parties, things like that. You have heard the song called YOLO from Maneka movie. Have you seen the scenarios there? They'll be enjoying partying in IT companies. That's an exact scenario of team outings and team lunch. Shift-based works. You'll be provided 9 to 5 work job, or 9 to 8, or according to the company, or you'll be also given night shifts, which works great with boys. It's not good for girls, but if girls are night owls, they could also go out for night shift-based jobs. So be wise in choosing that night. It's like, don't hesitate about choosing a night shift-based job. Like night shift-based jobs is actually more enjoyable. Like, you don't have much of the work to do in night shift days, and they pay you well because it's night time. Nobody is going to choose that. So remember, when you come into placements and things like that, and interacting with all geo clients meeting. So this is the word where you meet multilinguistic and multicultural, multi-diverse people. Like, you interact with a Nigerian one day, you interact with an Australian one day, you interact with a American one day, you interact with an English person one day, Dutch person one day. So there'll be so you have to develop your communication skills, and once after interacting itself, you will get familiarized and you'll get comfortable with working with them, and then you will do all the things. So you're not supposed to worry about that. The next slide will explain you more about that. Hard skill versus soft skill. So yeah, remember that soft skill is one of the crucial things that you have to learn. You have to possess, not learn. You have to possess. Soft skill is not something that which can be learned. It's like you have to imbibe it or possess it. Hard skill is one you could learn. Hard skills are the technical skills, what I told you, the programming, training, the aptitude, things, and all that comes under hard skills. And soft skills are the one which are going to imbibe, like communication, effective communication, public speaking, all those things. In the next slide, I'll show you some of the set of soft skills. See here, you can see some of the best set of soft skills, which are communications, teamwork, leadership skills, problem solving, conflict resolution. All the things what you see here are belongs to soft skills. So you definitely have to have a great set of soft skills in IT. If you don't have technical or hard skills also, it's fine. But IT, you're going to speak a lot. You're going to provide solutions to a client, or you're going to provide service to a other company. So you have to be more free. You have to be more confident. Like even for asking doubts, I have seen people hesitating and keeping quiet. Even if they have a doubt, they'll be sitting. Like they'll be waiting for someone else to ask the doubt or things like that. They'll be passing on words, and then they'll make someone else to ask the doubt. It's you have to come forward. Doesn't matter what language, or if you stammer also, it's okay. But you have to come out, speak out to yourself. It doesn't matter if you speak in English or Tamil. It's only answering. You've seen this movie called Yaradi Nimodi, where Dhanush sits in placement. He gets interviewed by HRs, and he'll be talking in Tamil in a group discussion. So that's what you have to do. Like, there won't be a person like Nayantara for you to push you. It's like you have to come up. Your HR won't be telling you it's okay, paravalla, you can speak in Tamil itself. No? They won't tell. You have to. If you're not going to talk like for the whole session, that's the worst thing that you could do. So come out and speak in every sessions what you attend, like even in classes and all. Stand up and ask doubts if you're not able to understand. If there's any webinar or tech talk going, immediately post your queries and all. Don't just sit and while away your time. Utilize it to the most, even if it's relating to you or not. Even if you're interested in that or not, just try to ask questions so that you build up your confidence level and your fluency over a language. So that is a set of soft skills. These are the set of hard skills that you need to possess. Communication tools in social media are similar, like Facebook, Twitter, and all. You have to know, obviously, know to use it more better than usually Googling and using social media. Like once you get into IT, there are certain restrictions that you cannot. Once you start following your manager or things like that in Twitter and all, you cannot just post yourself with drinks and things like that. You have to be more concise and more formal in your postings, things like that, in social media. So limit yourself to that. G Suite, you have heard about Gmail, Google Meet, Google Workspace, all the Google provided software and tools comes under G Suite. So there are Coursera courses for you to excel in G Suite. Also, you could learn G Suite in Coursera. Word processing and desktop publishing tools are the Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint, WPS, Office, all the things. Everything comes under it. All the Microsoft products comes under word processing and desktop publishing tools. Excel. Don't just limit yourself to Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. You have to learn MS Exchange. There's also another thing called Access and Group. So once you get into IT companies, you'll be learning MS Access, SharePoint, and Exchange and Group, and also remember that. If you start using it, exploring it from now itself, it's easy. You don't have to possess any knowledge for in working all those things. If you start using it itself, you'll get familiar with all those things. Databases, I told you what databases are, so you'll be learning that also. Computer programming is the usual thing. Graphic design also, I told you. If you're good at poster designing, things like that, if you use tools like Illustrator, Adobe, and all, graphic designing will be more useful for you. So learn all those tools for hard skills. What to do in summer holidays and domain days. So IT is like totally divided into domains. So you have artificial intelligence, big data, cloud, cyber security, IoT, things like that. You'll be once after you come into college, you'll be explained about what all these domains are, and then you could choose. After knowing, it's better that you, after knowing what all the domain means, and then choose it. Just don't choose, have a knowledge about it, and browse internet and choose it right now, because I'll tell you all these points here. So choose a track first, know what suits you the best. Don't look over things in internet. That's the mistake what I did. So don't ever look terms related to these domains in internet, it'll confuse you totally. Like there are vast content in internet. After the venture of Geo, everyone is putting a YouTube video. So it's like no, it's of no use, right? If everyone's gonna speak nonsense in YouTube, the good content or the valid content won't get recognized. So don't look into internet. If you want to look into internet, use platforms like Reddit or Quora, which explains you in layman terms itself. Like it will explain you like a 5 year or what a 5 year. It will explain you a concept which is being explained to a 5 year old type. So that's called layman terms. So use Reddit or Quora if you're going to browse the internet. Register for basic courses in e-learning platforms. That's the only thing that you have to do in the summer holidays. Either use Coursera. There's an option called financial aid in Coursera. If you explore it, you could get the courses in Coursera for free itself. Within 15 days, they'll send you a free course if what you have applied for. Then you could use it. Udemy is also one of the e-learning platforms wherein you have to pay around 400 to 500 rupees for each course. Allison offers you free course, but remember that Coursera and Udemy certificates are more valid than Allison, so prefer doing Coursera or Udemy. It also gives you a better overview and a head start, as most of these courses does not have any prerequisites. Try to fix an old PC or install any pirated softwares and games and try solving all those errors that pop up. That's actually what I did. That's how I learned computer and how to solve all the errors and install operating systems, things like that. That's how I learned. Like, I used an old PC, what I had. I tried dismantling it and I tried assembling it again. I went to, most of you here would have heard about Richie Street and all. So I went to Richie Street, bought certain graphic cards and processors, things like that. I myself went personally and I asked the shop owner what this means, like why is it used, things like that, and then browse internet. That's how I learned. Like no one actually taught me all this. You could also learn all these things by yourself if you are really interested. That's actually how which helps you a lot learning more practically, right? So that's one thing that you can do in the summer holidays if you're bored in Corona lockdown, things like that, and learn any one programming language up to basic level. If you have mastered one program, it's more than enough. Or if you're up to basic level, by basic level I mean I guess you would have studied up to functions in 12th standard, right? So it's more than enough to possess knowledge up to function level in when coming to first year of college. After coming into college, they'll teach you, so don't worry about that. Possessing knowledge up to functions, this is actually an additional requirement you have to have. It's not mandatory to have this programming language knowledge if you come into college for the first year itself. So don't worry about that. If you belong to bio stream and all, don't worry at all. After coming, you will learn. But it's better if you look into programming language things in internet now, so that you get familiarized with the terms. And once they teach, once the teachers, staff, professors teach, it's more easy for you to relate with it. So that's why I've mentioned that point. It's not mandatory at all, but it will help you a lot later on. So and finally, you could reach me at any of these websites, or you could call me or WhatsApp me. I'll be happy enough to help you out. I never had an opportunity like this to actually choose between courses or what all the courses that I'll be studying. Right? If I ask my seniors or someone who actually was studying in IT, they'll say IT is only this. They'll say IT in a computer room. They'll just tell that. They won't tell you all these things and they won't explain you all these things that what I have explained. So always remember to choose wisely. Once after you choose, you don't have to regret. So make a choice beforehand itself. Keep an interest on it. It's one of the most best domains or most best jobs that you could work with. There are more upcoming domains nowadays. Like I told you, this cloud, AI, and all. AI was like in 2008. Like artificial intelligence started in 2008 itself. Now it's called machine learning. Big data is also there for a long time. 2004 there was word called big data. Most of us don't know. Now it's called data analytics. Cloud was also something which was stopped actually in 2012 itself. The word cloud computing expired in 2012 itself. Nowadays it's like called fog edge steam computing. No one usually calls it cloud. Only for the reference term they use it as to a common reference term. They use the word cloud. cyber security is also called information viability and information security nowadays. It's not called cyber security. So if you have doubts in any of these domains, I don't want to actually clear you the doubts in all these domains and confuse you. So so if you don't, I told you, don't ever use the internet. If you have platforms like LinkedIn, things like that, you could actually go into a person who works in all these domains and inquire them. That's how I did, and I got knowledge in my domains what I wish. So you could also use that, or you could call me, or you could take any one of your seniors. If you're going to join SRM, you could always ask in hand to any of your seniors. They'll help you with either of these domains or additional domains also. If you want knowledge, if you want ideas, we could arrange it for you. Yeah. So that's it. I guess I'll end this session here. Thank you, everyone. If you have any doubts, I guess you could ask in the chat box, or you could use these things to reach me out.
It was a beautiful presentation, Tarun. So you have actually cleared all the doubts related to even the certification and the job prospects. Everything you have touched upon. It was really wonderful. But due to the ongoing revision exams for the current +2 students, some of them are not able to make it today. But it will not be a problem, because anyway it is live streamed now. So this session will be shared to the WhatsApp group and everyone over there. And request any participants, if any doubts, you can ask now.
I have a doubt. Can I ask?
Yes.
Yes, Nishan.
Hello, bro. I am Nishan from
Yeah.
SRM University. It was a great presentation, bro. Like, you have covered lots, but I have a few doubts. I heard a point from your speech that you told in one slide that software development job is a boring job. I don't know why you said that. Can you explain me?
How it's showed in movies, right? Software developers are actually being sat in front of computers for hours. Like, that's what they show you in movies. Like, that's also the real scenario wherein you get to work. If you're going to work in a company like Google and all, they'll be showing you, like, most of the movies and all, they'll be showing you they'll be leading a happy life. They work in companies like TCS or Infosys. But if you're going to work in companies like Google and IBM, they'll be providing you and they'll be assigning you tasks which are numerous. Like, Google is a company where they have limited number of employees and they take out the maximum from those limited number of employees. That's why they pay you 80 lakhs or 10 crores. So that's why I told software development is like a bit of boring job compared to all the other stuff. Like networking job and all, only if a computer gets down or gonna have some problem, it's only then they'll phone the IT department and those guys will come and they'll provide with solutions. They're not going to be having job 24/7, but they have to be in office 24/7. Most of the job roles are like that. That's why I said software development like that. And nowadays, it's like if you work in a better environment like Freshworks or then another company which came from Freshworks was Zoho, things like that and all. It's more better. Like, you have a comfortable environment, they'll provide you with less work and they'll pay you also better, and it's like fun to work in companies like that. But for that, it's not everyone that they get into all those companies like Freshworks and all, right? You have to actually possess experience to get into Zoho or Freshworks. Freshers, like, they'll if you're gonna sit for placement for Zoho, then you'll get to know, like, they'll have 30 pages of questions in C programming from starting from intermediate to advanced level knowledge. So Zoho is actually one of the tiring jobs that if you get to work with Zoho, you'll get to know. You will be asked to learn CRM, customer relationship management. You'll be asked to learn all their softwares and products related to them, and you'll also be asked to learn additional things for, like, there's something called SAP and ERP. I guess you would have heard about what SAP and ERP means. So you'll be learning SAP and ERP. So after working hours, you have to stay, you have to learn all these things, and then only come if you're in a software job. They won't send you immediately after working. Like, if you're going to work from 9 to 8, after 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, they'll mostly make you sit and attend all these training sessions until you get familiarized with all these things, and then only they'll send you. They'll obviously send you in their cab itself. They'll pay for it. But you have to sit and attend all this training, right? It's like it's more better that if you free-handedly have any knowledge in those things and do your work.
Okay, bro. That was a great explanation. Literally, that was a great explanation. Okay, I have another small doubt. You have concentrated in the topics like networking, cloud computing, like that. But I
Yeah.
don't know why haven't you told about web development, web programming, and all.
Yeah, that comes under the software thing, right? I've shared you a slide. That's what I
Yeah,
told
I
you.
saw in the software field, but there
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah. That's because there's a limit time limit, right? I was just allocated from 10 to 11. I just wanted to come. If
okay.
you're going to talk about software, web development is that exactly web development. That's why I told graphic designing is getting a better pay. Web development is also one of the domains which is having a better pay than all the other domains, with what I mentioned there. All the new upcoming domains like data analytics also is going to pay you high. Visual data is also going to pay you high. So a nice question. That was a nice question. So that's why I gave you my contact number and all the other things. You could always reach me out
Yeah.
and get your doubts cleared. So yeah, Nishant, that
Thank
is
you
the
very much, bro. Thank you very much for clearing. That was a
most
great
welcome.
webinar. Thank you.
Hello, brother. I too also have a doubt.
Okay, you can ask. Proceed.
You told about operating systems VLSI design, no?
Yeah,
So you said, oh, can you give me another small brief about VLSI design and its difference between the assembly language? Because I have known that assembly language is also something which instead
yeah,
like C++
exactly.
and
You'll
Java,
be
it will be like directly you are typing the language which the computer
yes,
understands.
yes. In VLSI design, you will be learning assembly language. So that's what VLSI design is like. Totally comes with designing the circuits. The circuits are made to work with assembly level language. So that's what VLSI design is. Exactly what you said. Assembly language is only VLSI design, but you'll be like to be more precise in C++, you'll be using syntax and all those things. VLSI designs, you'll be using semantics. Once you study a subject called compiler design, you get to know what is the difference between syntax and semantics and parsing and all those things. You'll get to know about all these things once you come into a subject called compiler design your third year. So don't confuse yourself into VLSI design right now itself, because VLSI design is like a higher level subject. You study VLSI design in masters only. They don't teach you VLSI design in UG also, I guess. If you choose a core ECE subject or embedded system, you're going into embedded systems, then only they teach you VLSI design in UG. So that too you'll be learning in third year or fourth year, because it's like a high level concept. Before going into VLSI design, you have to definitely possess knowledge in operating systems and databases and computer organization or architecture. Was your question answered, or was
Yeah,
it something else?
yes, sir. Yes, bro. It was answered. Thanks for the explanation. I
Okay.
understood.
It's tough to learn VLSI design. That's what I'm telling you. Assembly language is not easy to learn because it's like a
And
language the computer understands.
is it
So
different from all the general languages such as C++
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and Java?
To give you an example, programming language I've seen like most of the if you've seen Python, it's similar to English, right? But
Yes, yes, bro.
if you're going for assembly programming language, it will be like MOV A plus B, MOV B plus C, mul A plus C. So it's like very tough to memorize. You can't memorize a VLSI language.
Okay,
Only
okay.
after working with it, you will get familiarized with VLSI design or assembly programming languages. Yeah. Anything
Yes, bro.
else? Any
No,
doubt? Others?
thanks for the answer.
Welcome. Welcome. So I guess I provided you with all my contact.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Tarun, Aditya, and Nishant also. So request our senior faculty, Mr. Veeramani sir, to deliver the vote of thanks, please, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. It's my honor to deliver the vote of thanks. So, on behalf of SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Ramapuram campus, Department of Information Technology, and on behalf of my own, and then on behalf of our participants, and then faculty members, I thank our speaker, today's speaker, Mr. Tarun Khanna. Had a wonderful session, enlightening sessions today we had on Nitty-Gritty and whatnot of information technology. And Tarun Khanna has explained widely, and then he escalated more knowledge about what are subjects you are going to have it in IT and then CSC and then including industry also. What are the softwares they are going to use it with the various job role. All those things he has explained. And I assure that all the participants would benefit it and then gain the knowledge about various kinds of domains and the industry domains. So what they are using in this industry, and then what is the nature of the jobs, what supposed to have knowledge about that, the skill set, everything he has explained. And also he escalate he escalate how the information technology is playing a vital role in the software industry, and the various point related to the what are the software you need to learn, and then what are subjects it's going to have it in your CS and IT department. And then thank you, Varun Khanna, once again. He spent his valuable time with us today, and I extend my thanks to our management and Dean Sir ENT for supporting us to conducting this program was a very smooth manner. And also thank our HOD Sir, Dr. Dornath Sir, and then the senior faculty ma'am, Miss Tony ma'am, and our all teaching faculty, non-teaching faculty members of IT department. Once again, thank our participants to participate in this program with enthusiastically and then gain the knowledge, I hope. And thank one and all. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
To
sir.
ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So thanks a lot to everyone for the valuable time. So dear participants, you please inform in the WhatsApp group that for the benefit of those who could not make it out today due to the ongoing revision exams, the YouTube link, once it is completed now, the link will be shared. So that's the online live streaming was going on. So the link will be shared so they can make use of this anytime. So thanks a lot for the wonderful opportunity, everyone. And thank you so much, Tarun, for giving a wonderful presentation. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. So let me end the session here. Thank you.
Thank you once again to all.